Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Off the Clock podcast, episode number 7. Where did the last 6 weeks go? I'm not sure. Today, we're titling episode 7, Catching Up and Looking Forward. And as we do every week, we'll start off with what we affectionately call the Week in Review. Scotty, we did a little prep a couple of days ago, but in the last 7 days since I've seen you, what's going on?
Yeah, well, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Red Sox, right? They've been playing so poorly lately that, I don't know, I think we just have to mention it here. The pitching has been awesome. They have no bats. They have 0 bats. And yesterday, for anybody who watched the game during the afternoon, so you could watch it if you were retired, at one point, the infield forgot they were 2 out. There were 2 outs. They tried to go for a quick double play to make it 4 outs, and they started laughing about it. I was so frustrated by the end of the game. I don't know. And then Mayer made that error. He just had to scoop it to second base. Just really frustrating.
So you're an unbelievable sports guy, and since I've known you, believe it or not, we played basketball, blah, 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 but your favorite sport has always been baseball, which I never really understood. I know you had when they won the first championship, you were sobbing like Michael Jordan after winning the first championship. You were excited. But this team has had, obviously, a lot of ups in the last 25 years, but also a lot of... So how are you? Like, most people just are out so down on the Red Sox right now, so down on ownership. Like, why does Scotty Chandler continue to be a diehard Sox fan?
Well, you see, if you were a sports fan, which
I am a sports fan.
Well, you said you weren't a couple episodes.
Oh, my God.
ago.
I mentioned that I would have loved to be a musician, and all of a sudden now I don't like sports?
Well, I think you said it a couple of times ago. When sports used to be a big part of my life, now it's not anymore. So, and you can't relate. Could you name the Red Sox 3 pitchers in their starting rotation?
This year?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So by definition, that's not a big... I mean, there's probably a lot of people that can, but by definition, you're not a big fan.
Of the Red Sox?
Correct.
Oh, I am not.
Okay.
But are you a big fan of the World Cup?
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Well, I am enthralled by it.
And you know why? Because of the hydration breaks. I get a little frustrated with the hydration breaks.
That was pretty funny with some stuff. Stay with the Red Sox, though. What continues to have you support... now, remember, this program, this organization is poorly run. There's not an investment. Like, does that frustrate you? Is it all about the players for you?
No, it's definitely part of the investment. I'm so frustrated with Breslow. I mean, he came out the other day in the papers and said, basically, we're not looking to dump anybody. We still think we have a shot for the playoffs. And I'm thinking, even if they get to the playing game, which is, I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's a stretch, right?
Yeah, they have the third worst record in baseball. I mean, it's ridiculous. But if they did, they have maybe one or maybe Abreu Contreras, maybe those 2 guys can hit good pitching. Nobody else is capable of hitting elite pitching on that squad. It's a AAA squad. It's for this market. It's absolutely ridiculous. But people are still going. Sad thing is, and this is where you got me, I'll still go to Fenway. My friend calls me with season tickets, and I'll buy the beer. I'll buy the hot dog. So I subscribe.
But
to
even
Nesson,
when they were good, I would always criticize you that you would be in front of a TV on a 98-degree July Wednesday night watching a game when the rest of us might be at the beach or something like that. Now that they're so bad, like, you still sit in front of that TV.
Unfortunately, I do. And again, I don't watch it. I don't watch every pitch. I come close to watching every pitch, but yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But I mean, I'll do something socially. I won't stay home in order to do something socially with somebody. But if I'm just at home and I'm reading or something like that, I'll have the socks on and I'll pay attention to it.
I call a little BS on that. I don't know if you remember, about a year ago, we ran into you and we connected. Hey, let's go get a beer at Salvatore's. And we were in the bar having a couple of drinks, and your eyes were glued to a Red Sox game against the freaking Texas Rangers or something.
Yeah.
And we would have liked to have probably stayed for another round, and you were like, let's wrap it up and go.
No, there's my voice again. But no, you see, that's where you're wrong. In that case, I think I had my limit of beers that I wanted to have, and it's difficult for me to sit at a bar and not have a beer. That's always been, or have a
What
drink.
about the friendship, talking, stuff like that?
Yeah, it was just you. So
No, it was 2
We're-
couples, and
Okay, all right,
we actually were having, I would say the 3 of the 4 of us thought we were having a good time, and when the beers ran out,
I had a great time. That was one of the best nights of my life.
imagine if you were on the part of the Tartan army for the Scotland and they ran out of beer.
That would be a problem. That
That
would be a problem.
All right, so we hope your Red Sox do a little bit better.
Yeah, enough on the Red Sox, but geez, it's just, I'm telling you, for anybody out there who's a fan, it's been the most frustrating season. And you're right. And when they did win in 2004, I don't think I cried, but I called my mom and she was in tears, and that was great. That was an event, man. You had to, and probably a lot of people listening to this lived through that. That was unique. That was unique. And I was working in Boston at the time. The city was basically shut down for a couple of days. It was crazy.
And as a non-fan, I watched it. But in the Wildcat Nation, you and Mark, the head, Brad, and Niece, I would say, are the diehard baseball guys.
Yeah,
Would that be fair?
Mark's a bit, yeah, and Mark would know the Jumbo too, and I think he watched a lot of games at the Jumbo right near Tufts University.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
All right, so enough of the Red Sox because I think that's more than most people talk about the Red Sox. What else happened this week for you?
Yeah, well, I got a little sensitive. I think when you made fun of my shuffling, I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to try to shuffle again. And by the way, I'll challenge you to any shuffling race you want to shuffle. Like if you want to shuffle a 10K, you want to shuffle a 5K, just give me the word and we can shuffle together. See who
Yeah,
wins.
I'm not denying that. I'm not a runner, as I've said many a time. And if I was shuffling, I wouldn't try to run. I'd probably do a very brisk, what we call power walk or whatever.
Would
And
you have the little weights going?
how about you with shuffling
Would you
and
have the
me
weights?
power? I would.
You
Well,
have
I
the
definitely
weights?
have my weight vest on
Yeah.
doing it, but
Okay.
maybe the listeners would love to see if we could do a combination. We start off, you're shuffling into a run, I'm speed walking, and see who wins the race.
Yeah, okay. A tortoise to the hare. We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Can you get to what happened last
Well,
week?
yeah.
with you?
So basically, I was going to say that I was because you mentioned the shuffling. I said to myself, you know what? We're going to Bar Harbor in 2 weeks for a week's vacation, and it's beautiful up there. A ton of trails, ton of walking trails. It's really great up there. And there's one lake. It's called Eagle Lake on the Carriage Pass. If anybody knows Acadia, there's a ton of Carriage Pass. So, and every year I go up there, I run around that lake like 3 or 4 of the days I'm up there, but I haven't been able to just because I'm 100 now, so I can't. But I'm going to try to. My son's coming up, and I want to try to run around with him. I mean, he's going to have to wait a while. After he's going to probably have to wait like a half an hour after if I'm going to run. But we'll see how that goes. So that's my goal. So that was one of my goals this week was to get out there, try running. A little sore, but I'll keep at it and see if I can get up to 6 miles in
I am
a
so
couple
pumped
weeks.
that I help motivate that.
And I mean, that's good. It's a win-win, right? It's a win-win for everybody.
All right.
So,
yeah, and I'm not going to forget. We'll do that little power walk versus shuffling run and see who can win. All right. Anything else go on in the week besides your shuffling?
No,
experimentation?
my wife's back from her Spain trip, and I did score a Portugal T-shirt out of it. So it's like I kind of went, even though I didn't go. I can wear it and say, hey, Portugal was cool, but I've never been there.
You wouldn't even know when Portugal's playing again, but
Do you?
glad you had to get. I've been actually watching a lot of it.
I actually have Portugal in a pool, so I am in a World Cup soccer pool.
And if people know Scott, he's a gambler, and even though he doesn't know anything about the World Cup, when someone puts together a pool, he jumps in.
Yeah, there's only 4 of us, and it's for minimal money. I mean, very minimal money. But we each have a set of teams. One of the guys in the pool broke down, so we have 4 brackets, and Portugal is in my bracket. So, and the United States is in my bracket.
Whoa.
Yeah, so so that has me somewhat interested in looking at the scores.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got the USA going to the quarterfinals, but I don't see them going any farther than that.
So one quick story about the World Cup. So my wife was in Portugal. Like the last time did they play yesterday or
2 days ago.
Yeah. So she was in Portugal for that game, and she took a picture of the square outside she was staying. There was a huge TV set up, and it's also some festival there. So it was. She said the atmosphere was totally insane. Everybody was watching the screen. The festival's going on. when Portugal scored, the place erupted, and she said it was like a sound you never heard. She said it was incredible, and she said it was awesome just to be there for that.
That's
So
awesome.
the World Cup brings up some. I mean, the Scotland people are in this area. Those guys were great, right?
Yeah, they
Singing
really were.
singing songs and drinking a ton of beer down in Boston. So pretty good. I mean, there was some real positives to that.
Awesome. All right, for my week in review, I've had my second or third week of kind of what I would say my new existence, which is kind of a combination of like being retired and still working, which I kind of excited. So this past week, I finished up my 10-hour training with the North Interview Center summer staff, which was great. Had a great time leading that. It was a great time being back at the youth center. I also am involved with my 35th year of volunteering as the summer league coach for North Andover at this point, and got a bunch of young knights, so 1 or 2 nights a week I'm down with them, so keep staying in the game with coaching. So that was actually pretty good, and then I obviously got my time back up in Maine and then hanging around here, so I've kind of adjusted to this. Again, we're in that 4 month for me now, adjusting, okay, like I want a mixture of both, and that's been kind of happening, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then, you jumped on the Red Sox. I'll jump on the NBA draft. My guy Steve Bedreau and other people know that draft night in the NBA is a huge night for me. I don't think it needs to be 2 nights like it's been the last couple of years, but I've probably watched every draft and always intrigued with who the Spurs and the Celtics take. So I thought it was a little drawn out, but I actually like the Celtics 2 picks. They're projects, though. If anyone thinks they're coming in and doing anything in the next year or 2, they're not. But down the line, they could be pretty good. And I actually love what the Spurs did. They addressed the need at
Aren't you going to name the picks? Can you name the picks?
Senac, who I actually liked for the Spurs, and
Senac went to the Celtics, right?
yeah, and I actually liked him for the Spurs, but the Celtics took him. And then obviously the second guy, I don't love. I get why they draft him, athletic, strong, tough kid. But the reality is he is a worse shooter than I in the Wildcats. So
That's not possible.
if anybody thinks that he's going to be an offensive threat, that's not the case. In terms of the Spurs, just real quickly, they addressed the need at power forward with I think a steal, but he's coming off an ACL, so you don't know if it's really a steal. He was a lottery pick that dropped 20 from Kentucky. And then they also, picked up another power forward and a guard and another wing. So they're trying to address some of the needs they have with that. So always a good time. I cannot stand the some of the, like, they set up a living room and they were interviewing every kid that got drafted. It was beyond cheesy.
That was painful.
Pathetic, right?
Painful. And I was switching back and forth between different games and stuff, but
Red Sox game.
yeah, but yeah, that was painful. So I would just try to get the picks.
And they've watered down the panel discussion. There's no reason to have 6 people up there. I love listening to Jay Billis, Bobby Marks. I get it as a former GM, but the reality is almost over. I'm glad they brought my guy Fran Fraschilla, who I got to know many years ago when George was at Iowa State. He talks about a lot of the European and the foreign players. So overall, good.
How old is he now?
Fran Fraschilla
He's gotta
is
be up there.
our age. He's
Is
not.
that it?
He's not.
Jesus, seems like he's been around forever.
He has, and he
Yeah.
was a coach and everything else. But I
Yeah.
would say he could even be between me and you, same kind of age area, whatever.
Okay. So he's in his late 80s?
No, he's in his. I think he's in his 60s. If he was 70, I'd be surprised. But all right, so the week in review sounds like everybody's coping, getting through, enjoying life, got some highs. We wanted to touch base about our first topic we want to get in today is now that we are retired, what are some things that we think we want to do a little bit more, or maybe even surprised ourselves with things that we are doing or things that we thought we were going to do more of that we're not doing. So, Scotty, start us off.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this yesterday when I was on my daily walk, and I was like, it's crazy. I've been retired a year and a half now, a little under a year and a half. And when I first retired, I said, I'm going to go to the casino, the Brook. There's a local casino nearby called the Brook in Seabrook, New Hampshire. And I like to gamble on occasion. So I said, I'm going I'm probably going to go up there more. I'll probably go up there once a month, and I've only been up there twice since I retired. And I'm saying to myself, that's kind of weird. And I can't pinpoint exactly why that is because I like to go. So I can't figure out exactly why I haven't gone more, but I haven't had the urge to go. So that's kind of crazy, right?
But is that because there's no one that you're going with, or no one called you up to go with? I mean, you don't show up there by yourself, do you?
No, I would go there by myself, but yeah, but I have a couple of friends that would go with me, but neither of us have reached out. And again, they're both working, but if I called them and said, hey, do you want to meet there after work or something? So maybe that's part of it, but that's definitely not the whole thing. I have no problems doing things like that by myself, like going to the movies by myself. Movies are another thing. I mean, movies, I thought I would go to the movie theater more often, and I really haven't gone that much. I think I've seen maybe 3 movies in the theater since I retired. And I'm a big movie guy. I saw all the Oscar-nominated movies this year. I make it a point every year to see all the Oscar-nominated movies, and some of them are really bad. But I thought, but I haven't gone to the movies a ton. So it's kind of surprising to me, and I can't wrap my head around the reasons why I'm not doing that because they're good outlets. They spark some intellectual stuff. Maybe gambling doesn't, but it hits that it gets the juices flowing in your head. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Prior to COVID, I used to kind of razz on you a little bit. I actually think you went to a movie by yourself, and I think in my mind I have it that it was like a Friday. You would go almost on a weekly basis, and it's interesting to me that you don't do that as much. There's a lot of people that tell me there's just not a lot of good movies.
I think that's
there.
part of it. Honestly, I think that's because a lot of it is, and I'm not. I mean, rom-coms, right? We both like rom-coms, comedies, something easy to watch. Now it's all this. I'm going to sound like I'm 100 again, but it's all this sci-fi stuff and killing stuff, and that's. I want a movie like Beautiful Girls that's situated in a town, relationships. They just don't make those and again, I sound like I'm old, I get it, but they don't make those like they used to, as to coin the old phrase.
Yeah, I don't think it makes you sound old. Obviously, you have an interest, and you want to be stimulated a little bit too. And I think we both love stories. Forget the rom-com piece. I think we love stories where there's relationships and life and real stuff that happens. And I would agree. I was up in Maine and debated on going to a movie by myself, and I drove down the place. I ended up getting a pizza and a beer at this place called Otto's, which is part of the movie theater. But I looked at it and said, there's not one movie there that I would want to see. And it has nothing to do with money or anything else. So, yeah, I think that's part of it. So,
yeah, I mean, during the Oscar, when I watched the Oscar movies, half of them I wasn't even looking forward to, right? I mean, F1 was an okay story, but it wasn't an Oscar. I mean, it wasn't Oscar level in my mind, but I don't know. So, and again, and part of it too is you can see them from home now. I mean, they come to your Comcast much quicker, right?
Yep.
So,
all right. What else? Some of the other things now that you're retired, did you have been given some thought to?
Yeah, I would say day trips, right? I thought we would go up. Love Portland. Love to go up to Portland, right? And I mentioned Good Fire. A lot of good breweries up there. I mentioned Good Fire last week. A lot of good restaurants. A lot of good bars in Portland. Cape Elizabeth is right there. A lot of cool things up there. We haven't taken one day trip up there. So I'm like,
well,
I can't
the
figure
phone
that out.
hasn't rung. How come you haven't asked me? I love Portland almost as much as you, and Waterboy does too.
I'm waiting for you to ask me. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those awkward relationship things where either one of us are afraid of rejection or something. Maybe that's it.
Rejection. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'll have to make the first move. When up in Maine, as you know, not many miles from Portland, I should give you a call and just say, get your ass up here, and we'll hang out for a day trip.
I mean, you like Portland, right?
I do.
So what does a day in Portland look like for Rick Gorman?
I actually think it's different than a day for Scott Chandler. So,
I bet it is, but not as different as you think.
Yeah. I mean, I think for you, it's definitely a brewery piece has to be part of it. And for people that know Portland, by the way, underrated city. I call it a mini Boston. So many things to do there, and there's a ton of breweries in the general vicinity, which you and Waterboy talked about last week. But for me, it's definitely, I love the port city. I do a lot of walking around. I love a lot of the stores. So they have a lot of like retro stores. I can get lost in an old record store and looking at stuff. Some retro fashion stuff. They got some cultural things I really look at. So I love going up and down those streets. I love to go there for food. Okay. I haven't tried the one place that you've been really pushing for me to try. What was the name of that place?
Scales.
Scales.
Yeah. But you know what? So went back there, and it's a seafood restaurant that's pretty well known up there, and it's not cheap. It's but it's not crazy expensive, but it's not cheap. And it's a little high class for me. I mean, because I'm a 99 guy at heart, but the seafood is unbelievable. But I will say, and I'm not a big, I don't need a lot of food on my plate. So, but I did, last time we went there, I did leave a little hungry. So I was like, geez, maybe, but the food was great. The food was great. So the portions are a little low.
So many good restaurants there.
Yeah, but
a place that you turned me on was Jay's Oyster House, which is
love that spot.
That is a spot that I gotta get to anytime I'm there.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been there, it's not the biggest place in the world. I've been up there in all seasons actually, but yeah. So I think for me, it's a lot of. I don't stay in a hotel room. I don't sit overlooking the water for the day. I'm usually out moving around. We love a breakfast place. What's the name of the breakfast place?
Becky's.
Becky's, yeah. That's always a go-to if you're thinking about breakfast. I think the difference between me and you is that you could go with not eating a lot up there. I take advantage of, I think that I'm in the city of Portland. Let's try some new place on that. But what's different with you then?
The music scene.
Yeah.
And the music scene's hit or miss up there, right? But if you're there in the
summer is good.
The summer is awesome for music, right? You just go into a bar, and again, you don't even have to be drinking, right? But you go in and grab a Coke if it's early in the day, or usually I'll grab a beer though, to be honest. But you don't always have to. And the music is good. I mean, from bar to bar, and it's not every bar all the time, but the music scene is really kind of cool up there.
Yeah, I would echo that, and I love the music scene in the summer and the fall, late in the spring. I mean, it's not a ton of music scene there in the wintertime. Obviously, it's a different. Portland is. I was up there in a snowstorm. It's actually pretty cool all 4 seasons. So, yeah. So I think we got similarities and maybe a little difference on that.
So why haven't you headed there? Right? You've been. And I know you go south of there sometimes.
About 10 miles south, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you haven't ventured into Portland often. Why?
Yeah,
Why is that for you?
I actually thought about that because I'm like, it is really a stone's throw, and I've made a promise to myself that the next time I'm up there, I got to head over there, even just for a couple hours. I think it's just a great city, and there's a lot. And this time of year, it's just bopping or whatever.
You could check out the bell bottoms and some of the retro stores, and maybe buy a pair.
I have never owned a pair of bell bottoms, but maybe I'll just show up at the podcast.
In middle school and high school, you never owned a pair.
I don't think I had owned bell bottoms.
I definitely did. Yeah. I had I don't know, the streaks down them. What were they called? I don't know. Neon streaks.
As one of 6 kids, I had hand-me-downs, so I don't quite remember all of the style I had back in the young age. So, all right. Anything else that you're looking at that you either thought you'd do more of or that you want to do more of?
Yeah, just one. It kind of goes on the same theme. I thought I would get together with. I have a bunch of friends that like to play cards. And I thought we would get together more often and play. I think we've gotten together twice since I retired. And I think at one point we said we should make this a weekly game. But that doesn't happen either. So maybe it's a lack of effort on my part. Maybe it's the fact that some of those guys aren't retired yet. So it's but that's a weird one too, because I mean, it's always a fun night. You always enjoy it, but I'm not pursuing it. And is that something I should pursue more to allow it to happen? I don't know, So, but I love playing poker. Good WB story too. I brought him to one of my poker games probably 5-6 years ago, and he had 2 pair, and my friends are there, and he's looking at me, and he's showing me his hand. And his friends go, "What are you showing me?" He goes, "Does 2 pair beat 3 of a kind?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, here we go."
That would be
and my friends haven't forgotten that. And then he looks at me and he goes, "Does a straight beat a flush?" So it was one of those nights.
Yeah, for sure. All right, for me, again, I'm only at 4 months. You're a year and a half. For me, a couple of things that I definitely followed through was it has just been awesome to be able to work out all the time that I'm able to work out, and whether that's being in a gym, being on the water, hiking. big time walk, and that's been really, really good for me. I think some of the things that I haven't done that I thought I was going to do is kind of some of the stuff we just talked about. I thought I would, hey, I got a chance to go to movies a little bit more. And you were my role model to go to a movie by myself, so I actually overcame that fear. And but I haven't really gone.
Was that difficult for you to go to a movie by yourself?
It's really weird because for people that know me, I have no problem going to a restaurant by myself. And again, not a huge restaurant, but I have no problem walking across the street to the tavern that you know and sitting at the bar by myself. I always thought it was really weird going to the movies by myself. And I think it's because when I was really young and opinionated and blah, 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 I would look at someone in my age now and say, well, you know, they're lonely. They don't have anybody to go with. They look miserable, and they're just kind of, you know, they got a thing of popcorn or whatever. So for me, because I used to give you a lot of crap about, like, you really go there, like, where do you sit? How do you sit?
And I was like, there's nothing better than going to a movie by yourself.
And I would say I was totally wrong, and you were right, and I enjoy that. But I think, like, why haven't I gone? I think part of it is I don't think there's a lot of great movies out there. A thing that I thought I would do a little bit more of is the music scene. And I think part of that is making sure you got people that want to do it. I'm not a big, like, Waterboy can go to watch a band totally by himself. He can just pull up that. That I'm a little bit different with. But as you know, because I've sent you some pictures, you know, I've been over at the tavern on Saturday nights because they usually have a live band, and I kind of like that. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that type of thing. But I think with you, and we'll lead into our second aspect with this, is as we go through time with being retired, you a year and a half, me 4 months at this point, we're now starting to see other people that will be what we call joining the club. And we had Waterboy in here last week to talk about that. Another good friend of ours, Taz, the Tasmanian Devil, he's retiring this year too. And as more people retire, either friends, associates, how do you think that increases opportunities? And almost to answer some of the stuff right now, like I was telling you a story the other day, there's a group of teachers from North Andover. They're probably all in their mid to late 70s now, and they retired probably when they were early 60s. And they had their morning breakfast once a month or every couple of weeks or whatever. And I would always get a kick out of, like, the stories they told or whatever. But they had a large group of people that were all retired, and this was a social outlet. So where do you see, with more people in our wheelhouse that are retiring, how does that increase opportunities?
Yeah, I think it increases a lot, right? So that that card game I was talking about is probably more likely to happen, right? Because you can get together in the early afternoon and play cards. You can, and to your point earlier, you can find somebody and say, somebody else might edge you on to say, hey, let's go up to the casino, or hey, let's go see a movie. So I think it increases opportunity. Or, I mean, a few of my friends who have retired do this probably once a month. We meet at the Great American Beer Hall, which I talked about a couple episodes ago in Medford. So that's I think it very much increases opportunity, and it allows you to do things like we're talking about. Because WB's retired, you're retired, we're talking about going on a hike, we're talking about maybe doing some other things, right? So I think, but this is new for us. It's a new feeling to have people, not only yourself not working, but people around you not working. It's just kind of weird, right? Because your whole life has been structured around work and when can I get my free time and your family and all this other stuff. Now that's kind of gone. You have this time to be able to do this. So this is like we're being introduced to this just now. Right?
Yeah, so remember, and we used to give you crap for this. This is me and Waterboy, is when we were working, and each one of us had extremely busy lives. Professionally, my life was wacko crazy. I think both of you probably had more family commitments than I did. But we would be like, when are we going to get together? And then, if you remember, Friday nights was off limits because, now Friday night's a good night for maybe people to go out. But that was the night that you and your wife had set up that was call it date night, call it whatever. You went for dinner, whatever. And then we kind of got to the point where, we're going to try to get a Thursday night. And then we even got really crazy and said, okay, we can't go Thursday, we'll go Wednesday. And the good thing is now is, we're not really locked into this. We got a lot of time. We can go to breakfast, we can go to lunch, we can go out and dinner. I think for me, and you called me out on this a little bit, and I've kind of had to think a little bit about it, because when Scotty Chanley calls you out, you got to think a little bit. But part of me is, are we asking, like you brought it up earlier, like, why haven't I gone to the brook? Why haven't I? Like, I sometimes have a hard time even calling you or some other people, because I don't want to feel like I'm bothering them, or, and you said fair rejection. Like, yeah, maybe if I say, hey, let's go to the brook, and I'm not a gamble, but say let's go to the brook, and you say, no, I can't go. And then it's like, well, I reached out, he said no, whatever. And I think that's a little funky, and that's something I obviously have to get over, and I think that's something we've got to do. But I think for the exciting piece is, we're not locked into this, well, we can go to the tavern on Thursday night.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard thing to kind of process, because again, it's new, right? So we'll see how it plays out, but I think it will allow more opportunities. And interesting, you talked about the Friday night thing with my wife, and that's something. This is one thing I miss about work. This is probably the biggest thing I miss about work. There was nothing better to me than getting home on that Friday night after a week of work. Battling
in a 2-hour commute.
I was going to say battling the traffic. Yep. So I have my Mr. Magoo thing, Roadhog. I'm going nuts.
Which I can't relate to, according to some.
Because you walk 6.2 miles. There's no traffic when you do that. So we would go, and I'm a 99 guy. I love going to the 99. I like those types of bars. I like dive bars. I like that kind of atmosphere. So we almost every Friday night we would go to the 99. I would get one of those big beers. That would be the best beer of the week, and I used to look forward to that. And my wife and I would always carve out Friday nights. Once in a while, the kids would join us or whatever it was, but those Friday nights were reserved for us, and that was always cool. I mean, once in a while we meet friends and stuff, but we would never do things on our own on a Friday night. But I miss that feeling of that. Oh, it's Friday. Thank God I have the weekend to relax. That's my biggest. Miss from working, which is probably pretty sad, but that's my
because
biggest work.
You told me you probably didn't miss anything from work, so this is actually enlightening for me to hear that. But I have heard from you over the years, when you're working, even when you're not working, is your feeling and experience when you crack open that first beer. So I imagine the story you're telling is after battling, and let's remember how Scotty is an emotional driver. So when he got there and picked up his wife, and they headed over to the 99. By the way, they had their own bar stools at the 99. I saw that on a regular basis. And then cracking open that beer.
Yeah, it's not true we had our own bar stools, but we did know all the bartenders. And they would see Nancy walk in, and I would. That's back in the old days when it used to get crowded. And I would drop Nancy off. She'd get a thing at the bar, and then my beer, without her even ordering it, my beer they know what kind I like. My beer would be sitting there when I walked in. So
let me ask you this about opportunities. So what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I agree with you, is that, with more people retiring in our age group, in our friend group or whatever, there's going to be more opportunities. We talked about hike. We talked about, going to a game and playing card night or whatever, breakfast. I have also looked into stuff like common interests, whether it be biking or being hiking. Would you ever look at the opportunity of maybe joining a group of people doing an activity that you like that you don't know?
Aside from bowling?
Aside from bowling.
I wouldn't close myself off to that, but it would have to be an opportunity that is very appealing to me. I'm not going to jump at that. I'm not going to force an opportunity. But if somebody came to me and said, hey, do you want this group of people? And if I knew, like WB came and said, hey, a group of people from church are going on a hike, a very short hike, I might say yes, but I might say no. So I'd have to think about that. I don't have a clear-cut answer, but that's counter to what I've said this whole podcast, right, since we started, where I'm opening myself up to more opportunities. I'm still kind of limited in my scope, I guess, sometimes, but that's just my personality. That's who I am. So,
right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I actually am impressed that you would even consider it because I think to a certain degree you're a little like a black and white on that. So that's interesting. But it would have to be something that it's an opportunity that you have a real interest in. And I do think there'd have to be like a connection of like me or Waterboy maybe going with you on that. So
How about you?
I'm the one that's researching it right now. I'm actually doing some.
But there are a ton of clubs out there. There are a ton of things you can join.
Yeah,
right?
so I've been looking at that. Now these are potential things. Appalachian Mountain Club, some things through the trustees that I was like, but I would be going by myself. Which, to answer your question, I think I can do that, and I don't need someone to, hold my hand or something like that. But do I want to do it?
What's the Appalachian Club consist of? Is it, like, do you go to the White Mountains, or is that small climbs? Is it a little bit of everything?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
When I was younger and I was a member of the Appalachian Mountain Club, there was actually like snow hiking and camping trips and everything else. But there's a lot of smaller things. There's some, even things like walking clubs. Biking is something that I'm trying to figure out if I want to get back into. I was a heavy mountain biker at one point in time. I really am not interested in heavy mountain biking and breaking a hip or something, but road biking and, on some of the trail, the bike trails and stuff like that would be good.
I tried road biking, and I bought not a low end good bike.
Yeah, it was probably a Schwinn 3-speeder.
I don't know what that. It was a tricycle. It had 3 wheels. I was bombing around. I don't know why I got so tired up the hills. Yeah, It goes faster than my car though. The tricycle goes a little faster than my car. But I tried biking, and it just wasn't my thing. And I thought I was going to really get into it. I had a good friend who was an elite biker, and I kind of said, okay, man. And he used to be a runner, and I used to be an avid runner. And I said, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe it's the next best thing. Just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
But then again, I'll go to the Y and I'll bike. I'll sit in a stupid stationary bike for an hour and a half, going nowhere. A couple ladies walk by and go, "You there yet?" And I go, "Not yet. I'm still working on it." Yeah. So,
another opportunity I think that we would look like so. You, I, and Waterboy, I think really like history. So when I look at opportunities, and you mentioned like a day trip or something like that, I think there's a lot of stuff out there that I'd be interested in going to check out. This wouldn't be a day trip, but one of my favorite places to go from a historical perspective, and I've been there 3 times, is the United States Military Academy. The experience up there is unbelievable. I've even thought about you and I being hoop guys, like haven't been there in a while, but, the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. It's a day trip, right? We could head out to Springfield, go get something to eat, hit a brewery, check out that, and then coming back. So I think it's a matter of like, hey, what are some of our interests? What do you want to do? For me, get over the fact that I might call you and say, no, don't want to do it, or no, can't do it today, I'm doing this, and just reaching out with that.
That's a spot where you and I are different. If I call up a friend and say, hey, you want to do something, and they say no, well, I say, well, okay. That's me.
I'm just saying that's my issue that has to get over that.
Well, it's good you recognize that. It's good you recognize you have some issues.
Episode 1, I told you I'm probably the most self-aware person, so
wow.
I don't question that, and I do a deep dive in that. When I think back to those North Andover teachers, Mike McVeigh and Bill Bootlier and those guys having breakfast, I do remember, they're retired. I'm probably 48, 49, 15 years from retiring. And I look at them and I kind of like, that's a lousy existence. Like they're going to get together and maybe go to breakfast and shoot the breeze. And now I'm looking at it as with almost like big eyes saying, wow, that is such a cool thing. Do you see, as our group gets more to retirement. So say it's me, you, Waterboy, Taz is next, and even some of the old timers that might come back into it. Do you see us having like a breakfast club? Or forget the breakfast club. Do you see us getting together once a month?
Yeah, I do. And again, those things tend to fall apart for some reason, but maybe they won't as much now that we're retired and we're looking for things to do. So I think there's a good shot that would work, right? And it doesn't always have to be going to a bar and drinking. You're right. Like a breakfast sometimes would be probably great, So,
can I mention something about the bar? So you
Sure.
mentioned earlier that, and I do remember this night at Salvatore's where you had your allotment of beer and it was time to go. I'm the complete opposite. Like, and you know that. Would you say that when the Wildcats together, I'm probably the guy that has the least amount of alcohol?
I would say in general, yes.
Yeah. So say you
we,
had.
we have one guy that doesn't drink, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But say you were to have 5 beers. I'd probably having 2 or 3, right?
Yep.
Okay. But my point is, I don't lose interest when I say I'm not going to have them. As a matter of fact, I enjoy it. I can be together without alcohol. And is that are we different on that?
Yeah, maybe. Because I can be there without alcohol, but I kind of want it if I'm there, if that makes any sense.
Yes, no, I get it.
So I think I mean, and it depends what the topic is. Like sometimes we repeat old stories and we say stuff that happened, and I'm like, I'm kind of out. But
by the way, and you have an issue with that. Like I know your body language better than any of the cats. When people start rehashing the story that we've all told and heard 15 times, you're out. Where I would say 90% of the other people love hearing the story again.
Again and again.
And again,
well,
the story changes a lot.
Yeah.
But you're like, I'm done.
And I think it's like that old game telephone, right?
Yeah.
Where you by the end it's a totally different story. Half of it never even happened. Yeah. So that happens a lot.
Yeah. So you see possibly something
Absolutely.
getting together.
Yeah. I think most of the old basketball crew would be up for that, and I think that'd be a good thing for us just socially. And if it goes, the thing is, it's not a commitment. You either go or you don't go. It either works out or it doesn't work out.
So I listen to Jay Shetty's podcast on a regular basis, and I think he's phenomenal. Young guy, but just phenomenal.
Is he better than us?
He's better than us. He's got a better voice than both of us.
That hurts.
He's actually got a tone of his voice that's extremely empathetic, where we kind of can get loud and, as some people have said, interrupt each other. But one of the things he talked about, it was just a multi-level one on friendship, which kind of led into what we talk a lot about. So how important is it to do what we're actually saying with these opportunities? Now, you have a lot of things you do with your wife. You are very close with your family. You have 2 kids. You do some traveling with them, blah, blah, blah. Take them out of the equation. How important is it for you to have these friends, which we're talking about, me, you, Waterboy, but Bill Curtin, Bernie, all of your guys that you have different groups? How important is that?
No, it's real important, and because I think you need, like I said, and this goes back, this rehashes what we said kind of in the beginning of one of the podcasts. It's just an outlet to get a different perspective, to share a laugh with. I think it's real important because your family's biased, your family knows you, your family, there's always, a certain dynamic there that a friendship's a lot different. A true friendship should be more open, should be, just forgiving, whatever, right? Just have a good time. And so I think it's real important to have those other outlets. Yeah. How about you?
I agree. I mean, I think, and again, I have to get into this world of grandchildren. I'll have to talk to Michael and Lindsay, but you guys are also dealing with a dynamic that I just haven't come to yet, right? And God willing, I hope I can understand and live what a grandparent is. But to me, parent stuff, family stuff, this past weekend, I jetted home from Maine and went to a family type thing that we had. It was a birthday party, but our whole family was together. That's great. Love that stuff. Wouldn't miss it for the world, by the way. Had a phenomenal time catching up with family. But for me, it's still important that I need more than just family. And there was a bunch of guys that had just retired that they were picking my brain, I was picking their brain for this podcast. And the reality being is it's really important to still have these friendships. Your family is great. Your family can be number one. But if you don't have the friendships, I think the overwhelming thing I've heard from people is you're missing something.
Yeah, and just the grandkids is awesome, and that's probably the number one priority. And I know I've talked about that, so I won't go down the path again. But went to Connor's, one of my grandsons. He had a music event. He had a concert. He plays the keyboard, and it was awesome. It was awesome. He did really well. Awesome to watch him play. It's just really cool. And another one of my grandsons is he's in the state All-Star tournament for 10-year-olds. So that's a big deal to them. It's and I can that's down in South Carolina, but I can watch that on they call the app Game Changer or something.
It's a streaming thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just fun. So I'm telling you, so it's a whole cool world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people can relate that have obviously who listen to this who have grandkids. It's a game changer, I think, for most people.
Yeah. And I'm jealous. I mean, I hope to experience that sooner than later. So, all right, let's, obviously we're always cognizant of time, but this is flowing really cool and we could probably talk a lot more, but let's get the weekly brewery from Scotty Chandler.
Yeah, I'm going to be quick on the brewery one. So I'm going to talk quickly about Night Shift, and most people have probably heard of that or at least familiar with most of their beers. There's a spot in Everett, and that's their original spot. And they also opened a spot right near the Boston Garden. I think it's called Lovejoy Wharf. I think that's the name of the wharf. And the Lovejoy Wharf is open 7 days a week, and that's a really good spot. If you're looking for somewhere to go before an event at the Garden, that's a really good spot. They have great food. They have all their beers on tap, so it's really good. The place in Everett doesn't have food, but they always have a food truck. And I think they're closed on Tuesdays, but they're open every other day. And it's a big kind of spacious venue, so it's kind of cool. It's hard to get to. It's not far from the MGM Casino in Everett, but it's just kind of a pain in the neck to get to. Some of the beers, I think most people have probably heard these beers, but they have Centilli, they have a beer called Fluffy, they have a lower alcohol IPA called Whirlpool. Just really good. I think it's a great spot, but I think the spot closer to the Garden, if you're going to a Garden event and you feel like having decent food with a good draft, that's a good spot to go.
All right, so you highly recommend it. Scott has been checking out some other places. He's struggling a little bit with, what's the geographical area that he should focus on. But if there's some places that you guys think are small, under the radar, that is worthy of a visit by Scott Chandler. It's like Dave Portnoy and other people. When Scott Chandler walks into a brewery, they know that a review is coming. So.
It's really weird. I get all these free beers now and everything. Yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah.
He's drinking for free.
The autographs, I'm having trouble. People lining up for my autograph. It's quite an experience.
Yeah, so you'll see Scott Chandler at a local brewery near you. So, all right. So we're gonna
don't be afraid to say hi if you see me.
Don't be afraid to say hi. All right. All right. So we wanted to delve into this next thing. So as we say a lot, we get a lot of good feedback. I found it comical that some of the feedback that Scott mentioned last week was just hammered. It's an understatement, hammered by the Wildcats. And it was around the area of interrupting and let people finish the story. So there was a number of people that felt that, no, don't get away from what you do, bust each other's chops, interrupt each other or whatever. So I guess we have to find a fine line with that. But we're figuring out right now, we're 7 episodes in with today's conclusion of this episode. And we got to think, you and I, and again, we welcome your input into this. So we talked pretty honestly the other day about, what's the lifespan of this? Where do we go with this? How much can you really talk about? I guess there was one listener that basically felt like last week's topic kind of got away from retirement, even though we're kind of talking life and retirement. What do you think, Scott? Where do we go with this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you and I can't sit here and talk about retirement for 52 episodes for a year, right? Because we're going to run out of things. I know we're very interesting to listen to, but we're going to run out of things to talk about. So maybe the answer is more guests. Maybe we bring more guests on, and maybe we don't tie ourselves to the retirement, mantra. Maybe we span out a little bit and people can opt to listen if they know the subject ahead of time, whether it be sports, whether it be movies, whether it be, we did kind of music last week, but we did more of a historical perspective of a musician versus our feelings on music. So I think we can kind of cater some episodes to a specific topic. I mean, that's kind of where I'm landing. Yeah,
I mean, I struggle with this. You and I both are figuring this out, and I do think it's good to sprinkle in some guests. And we talked about maybe a future guest being someone that's been retired a lot longer than us, right? So kind of get that perspective. We have somebody in mind with that. We have a couple other guys that are heading towards retirement, and one of them has a lot to talk about regarding health and age and things like that. A friend of yours, Bill Curtin, would love to get him on, maybe to talk about him retiring, but more so about some of his expertise on that. We've talked about bringing the world-famous cardiologist Dave Salmon again, just to talk a little bit about some health stuff as we age. And then there's a lot of people that we talked about. We talked about bringing in a female that has a different perspective of retirement or maybe a similar. So I think bringing guests in is good. I think also I've said to you, and we got some feedback on this, and I totally agree. I have someone that's what I would call a peer reviewer who said that our flow maybe need to get a little bit better, and I blame that on that we didn't have in-person preparation. And we did that this week. I think it was really good. You offered me a sparkling water. That was it when I was at your house. But
you refused, for the record.
I did, and I had a hard time sitting down. I had just driven from Maine, so I was actually walking around your house as I was talking.
You were all over the place.
It was kind of weird.
I was like, "Are you all right?"
If they were videotaping that would have looked a little funky.
There was a kid when I went to college. There was a kid that we used to make fun of because he would walk into our dorm room and just pick something up and kind of walk around and not look. And he go, "What are you doing tonight? What's going on? What's happening?" And we just saw that you reminded me of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you almost had when you went into some kind of a medical emergency the other day, 2 episodes ago when you were sitting there. If you were sitting there at your little kitchen bar there, and I was doing that, by the way. I was looking at pictures on your wall and. I don't know. Couldn't sit still. But what I will say...
I think you thought you were in the home and you wanted to escape. That's what it felt like to me a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I do think the fact that we sat down and prepared what we wanted to do is beneficial. Again, we've always told everybody here we're not experts on subject matter. We're not necessarily expert podcast people. We're running on the fly here. And I think the prep was good. But I'm going to throw something out that a couple people said to me. Is there a lifespan for this podcast? Is this going to be something? One of my favorite podcasts was Barack Obama and Bruce Springsteen. And they did a time-limited, I think it was 4 or 5 episodes, and that was it. And they're never getting back together again. They had 5 topics they wanted to talk about. Does this have a lifespan?
Well, I think we have better name recognition than those two.
Yeah.
So I think we got it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that. I think it depends if people listen. If they care, if they don't care. Yeah. So we'll play it out. We'll see what happens.
And our numbers continue to trend up. So I don't think we're bombing completely.
Is that a lie? Did they trend up?
No. Yeah. Okay. We have our guy Nick. By the way, we got to give Nick a big shout out. Nick is an employee here at North Andover CAM, and he helps us with a lot of the technology stuff. But
did we go from 10 to 15 listeners?
No, we went to 11. We actually had one episode between all the platforms, 700 people. So that's actually not too bad. Maybe it's just the Wildcats listening to it multiple times. But to go back to Nick, he's been great. He has the keys to the kingdom on the stats, though. Like, Scott's biggest question every week is, what's the stats? Do we know what the numbers are?
My voice again?
Your voice again. And we have to rely on Nick. So we'll get this week's stats on that. But I think we're also asking all of those people that get in touch with Rick and Scott, some people that get through the social media, if you've got some ideas, whether it's an idea for a guest or an idea of a topic, why don't you throw it out? I think one of the topics I want to get into after 4th of July is I was told, and I think you were one of the people that told me, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that don't do any major life decisions until you're in retirement for 6 months. And I actually took that to heart, and afraid to make any decision, financial decision, living a situation. But I'm making, and you and I have talked about this, I won't bore anybody with it, but I'm probably making my first life decision in the next couple of months of moving from where I'm living. I'm living in a place that I don't love, great place. It's in a mill. I went there after I got divorced, and it's been a nice proximity to work, et cetera, et cetera. But apartment living has kind of taken its toll on me, but that's going to be a big move for me. And I think one of the topics we'll talk about with other people is, and you've talked about it a lot, finances, like where you are, finances in retirement. I think we can talk a lot about I mean, do you still believe that, were you one of the people that gave me the advice on 6 months?
Yeah, I was, and I do believe that. I think because your head's spinning and you really don't know where you're going to land 6 months from after you retire, right? And like, I mean, we have obviously I've mentioned it a few times. My son's down in South Carolina, so we were toying with the idea. Do we buy something down, like a little condo down there, just to go back and forth? Do we not do that? And I talked to my financial guy, and he goes, dude, don't. Don't make any decisions right now. Just play it out. And it was great advice. It was great advice. And just go down there, see how it is going down, see if you would, whatever, right? So, but it was great advice. So I think 100% that's the right way to go. Now, 6 months is just a timeline.
Yeah.
You might know in 3 months you hate where you live.
Right.
Then I'm not saying, I have to wait until the 6 month date and then I'm going to move. But I think the point is you give yourself time to actually process everything that's going on in your life and the changes that are going on in your life.
Yeah, and you and other people that gave me the advice, I'm very grateful for, because I think it was good advice. And, I am ready to make little bits of changes as I go forward. So I think we'll have some time to talk about that a little bit. We are going to think about going every 2 weeks. That's our plan. Next week is 4th of July week, so it's going to be a short week here at the studio too. So we're probably going to take off next week, and we'll join you after that. And then we both have some vacations coming up that we'll kind of work around, but obviously love the feedback. All right, Scotty, you're always concerned about the time. We're doing good. I just want to let you know. So I want to finish with this, and this is I gave you no prep time on this. I just want it natural.
I'm scared.
You don't have to bare your soul on this, but the thing is that we haven't talked a lot about, and we had Waterboy on last week, but that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I think music in its own way is very important to both of us. I know that both of us love putting on some music, dark room, listening, chilling out, that type of thing. So with that said, and I know I'm critical that you haven't listened to any music in the last 40 years. I was over his house the other day, and he says, "Alexa, put on Love and Spoonful station."
Aren't
Love
they
and Spoonful?
Aren't they?
That was like what, 1973?
I thought they were a new group. They
No.
didn't just come out.
So, and as I listened, and by the way, we were preparing, and I was walking around the house constantly, but it wasn't a bad playlist. But I always say to Scott, there has been really good music since 1990. So what are you listening to these days?
Well, I mean, I did mention Ween, right? So my son turned me on to Ween. They're a great band,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
And I do throw them on occasion. But again, they probably formed in the 90s, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I consider them a new band. So and I think WB was going to go down this path last week, and he didn't. At some point, he was going to say, I want to talk about what music means to people individually, and I think that's how I would bucket it, right? The music I love and I listen to resonates with me, and it makes me think. It puts me in a different space mentally sometimes. And if I listen to new music, I don't have that relationship with that song, with that. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying this is the correct perspective, but it's my perspective. So I want to put on something like Neil Young. I keep going back to Neil Young. I play him endlessly, right? And I never really get bored of it because it puts me in a mental spot that calms me. It sounds stupid, but it calms me, it soothes me. So I have no real desire, again, other than my grandkids, because they listen to stuff and I want to understand what they're listening to. So I've tried. I can't even name. One of my grandsons is into Irish bands. I forget the name of the bands, but
Dropkick Murphys?
He went to see them in concert, but there were a couple other bands like them. I wish I could remember the name.
Is this Connor?
Yeah, this is Connor. Yeah.
So his father's big into ska music, which is stuff that you would never listen to.
Right. So, and that's not true. I want the High Kings. So I will listen to it, but I won't put it on by myself and enjoy it.
Right.
Like my wife likes the High Kings. She'll throw them on. I'm fine with it. We go over to their house and he has a playlist that has. I'm fine with it. It sounds great, but I'm never going to put it on. When I want to reflect and think, I'm never going to throw that on, And that's just where I am
Is music just
mentally.
reflecting and thinking?
No, it probably shouldn't be, but for me...
What about just enjoying?
Well, that's the Love and Spoonful. That's what Love and Spoonful is very upbeat, dude. Come on.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, so for me, and we go back and forth. Now, first of all, I love Neil Young, and that's your guy. And I had an open mind with Neil Young. I'm very disappointed still that you will not have an open mind with Bruce Springsteen.
No,
So,
I went to see the movie. That's not true. So I do have an open mind with
and
Springsteen.
I would say-
and I like some of his music. I don't like all of it.
all I'm saying is, why can't you join me, Cahill, Doc, and just go to a Springsteen concert before he dies, by the way?
Well, if you invited me, I probably would.
Just to kind of experience that, because I think you have an open mind. For me, and I challenge you on this a lot, is there's really a lot of good music, right?
Absolutely.
So I like a lot of new stuff. I love music that's going to speak to me, right? So I walk a lot, and when I'm walking, I'm either listening to a podcast, even this podcast, and some music. So like the other week, I'm walking and I'm listening to Usher Radio, all hip hop music, R&B music from the early 2000s to now. Why did I listen to it? I mean, it made me feel good. It made me think. It made me feel upbeat. But on the way home, I'm listening to some of my classics, Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen, all the way up to Noah Kahan. And really, I love new bands. I love to hear people that are coming up. As you know, your son, who I think, if he wasn't so busy with his professional career, is an aspiring musician. I was probably the first person that was really behind Corey's music. It was new, it was innovative, it had a different sound, and that stuff really drives me, where I think that's where we're a little different.
Yeah, and I love his music. I mean, I will throw his music on, but again, I'm a little biased there. He's my son.
Yeah.
So that's a little different. But I'm not arguing with anything you're saying. There's a lot of good music out there, and I'm probably missing something. There's no question about that.
So when we were with the Wildcats, we always got to mention the Wildcats.
Yeah,
and,
I think we mentioned them too much this episode.
probably, but they are avid listeners.
All 10 of them.
So when we used to play for 20 plus years, when you get pumped up to head down to the youth center, or even earlier than that with you, we were at the Atkinson School. What kind of music would kind of pump you up to play basketball or any sports? What'd you listen to back then? Neil Young?
Well, I remember in high school when we warmed up, for some reason I was in charge of the music. And
that's scary.
And the song, I'll give you $1 million if you can guess what song I picked in the layup lane in high school.
We Are the Champions.
That was just out, actually.
Yeah,
yes.
that was your.
Yeah, so it was Jungle Love by Steve Miller.
Okay, but I do believe, because we played in that same area, that it was more of a rock sound then than it would be now. Like if you
That's true.
Like when my son played high school and college basketball, I mean, the warm-up music was really hardcore hip-hop, really good R&B, that type of thing. For me, when we played with the Wildcats, like I would throw on, like, because I do love some kind of rap. I love some hip-hop stuff. Like Tupac was huge for me, Biggie, and that type of music, which I know there's a bunch of people. Steve Bedrell's probably rolling his eyes right now. But I was really into that kind of music as really a pump-up music. The reason I asked the question, I didn't know if you listened to Old Man by Neil Young as you're heading down the street.
I mean, sadly, that's what I would listen to before a sporting event at whatever level. Yeah. I would throw on some Neil Young, and that was not usual for most of my friends. Okay. I mean, a lot of Pat Benatar, that was that era, right?
Right.
A lot of Stones, a lot of that type of stuff, yeah.
Is there a song or any kind of music that you've now listened a little bit more to since you've been retired?
No, there really hasn't. Other than, but again, they're not new, but I've been listening to more Jimmy Buffett for some reason. Like on a nice day, just going for a walk, or I think I mentioned this before, doing my puzzles in the tubby.
Yeah.
I will put on some Jimmy Buffett, and to me, it's just relaxing, and it's just background music. That's all it is. So
I think also the time of year, right?
Yeah,
it's easy to listen to Jimmy Buffett. So your Jimmy, and I love Jimmy Buffett, but your Jimmy Buffett would be my Bob Marley, right? So
love Bob Marley.
So
I love
Bob Marley
from
April 30th to Labor Day is huge for me
100%
because it vibes into the summer and everything else.
100% on board with that.
Yeah.
I love Bob Marley in the summer. Yeah.
But I'm not listening to Bob Marley necessarily in freaking January during a snowstorm.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than going to a bar, like say in the summer in Portland, like an outdoor bar, and somebody's playing Bob Marley or somebody's playing, some sort of cool reggae music.
Yeah, I don't know if you
remember
this. We were up in Portland at a bar outdoors. the night that George Niang signed a contract with the Utah Jazz. Do you remember that night?
I do remember that.
Yeah, and I got the text and everything. But we were outside. It was probably it wasn't dark yet, so I'd say maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. And there was Bob Marley music coming in.
Yeah, I don't
We didn't have a
remember that.
band. They just had music,
okay.
but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was...
yeah, yeah.
I sat there and said, this is life.
Yeah.
Now I'm obviously pumped about my guy signing a big time contract, but I'm sitting there saying, beautiful night, sun setting, Bob Marley in the background, nothing like it.
Yeah. And, I definitely remember that. But yeah, Bob Marley in the summer, can't beat it.
Yeah.
And that's like if you're down in I don't know, somewhere in the Caribbean, which I've been to once in my life. Like I went to Aruba, but you're sitting there in Aruba with some sort of drink, and somebody's playing reggae. It's awesome. You're looking out at the ocean. So cool.
Rum swizzle.
So
that
cool.
reminds me of my couple times in Bermuda. That was the whole scene on that, and there's nothing like that. So. All right, so we will be talking about music a lot more because music is important to both of us, and it'll be interesting to see how music evolves in our own life as we age. So, all right, Scotty, we're going to wrap it up. You got anything else you want to say? Any best Father's Day? We didn't talk about Father's Day. Everything good?
Yeah, everything was good. I went over to my grandson had his concert on the Saturday before Father's Day, so I went out with my daughter and my son-in-law and my grandson. We hung out after his concert, went to a restaurant, had a great day. Actual Father's Day, I didn't do it. They called me up and said, "Hey, you want to meet at Oak and Iron?" Actually, and I said, "No, I think I'm good. I'll just let you guys go." So I just laid low. How about you?
For me, it was great. Got to see my kids. And Michael actually took me out to an old standby place that we used to go to breakfast, Carlene's, and he shocked me as he pulled out the credit card to pay. Because you and I have talked in the past. It's even when they got older, we always still pay for it. But I actually let them pay for this one, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And then I headed back up. I grabbed the Globe, the Tribune, the Herald, headed back up to Maine, and had like a really cool, just kind of quiet day by the water and stuff. So yeah.
So why 3 papers? We're probably running out of
So
time.
I don't read papers like I used to. I mean, you still get everything delivered to you and
Just
everything
the Globe.
else.
Just
but
the Globe, yeah.
the Tribune, which is a local
yeah.
paper, which you can read probably in about 3 minutes. But I'd like to hear what was going on with that. And then the Globe and the Herald, I only read occasionally on Sundays. So it was like, hey, I catch up with different things. And
you an obituary guy? Do you just read the obituaries?
I got to be honest with you. I do look at it quick. I see who died in North Andover or Winthrop, some of the places that I've lived at. But I don't hang on it because it's not something I want to hang on to it.
For good reason.
Yeah, for sure. So overall, good day. All right, anything else you want to finish with?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, for everybody. Really enjoyed this episode 7 called Catching Up and Looking Forward. I want you all to have a great 4th of July. Obviously, a big 4th of July in the history of the United States. Enjoy it. We'll be back after the holiday. Be safe. Be kind to people. And I am Rick Gorman. He is Scott Chandler. And we are off the clock.
Thanks, guys.
There are places I